Hello, Inspired Tribe. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Inspired Livestream number 190. We're very soon celebrating another milestone, 200 live streams. Welcome. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. My name is Jean Nolan, the wise voice behind the camera, Kristin Nolan, my wonderful wife, and we're excited that you're here. Thank you for joining us again today for a beautiful expansion in for our minds, our hearts. I want to welcome all new and old tribesters, and also remind you, before we dive into anything together, before you dive into anything, move into the heart space. This is the place where you really feel, discern, have a clear, pure understanding for anything that comes to you. And especially today when we talk about sound, when we talk about the second I said sound, it feels like a helicopter flew like 30 feet over our house. Today we're going to talk about language and sound, and that's something that we perceive in so many different ways. It does so much to us. So let me see who's tuned in. Also, let me say, guys, #LoveWins. It's been one of the best sellers in our store, and I love this one. Such a cozy hoodie, especially when you got to keep the house a little cooler because it's a little hotter outside. Welcome everyone. Pure Water, great to see you. Marco, hey, how's it going? Frank is here. Hey, Gary, Lindsay, Steve, welcome everyone. Elizabeth from San Antonio, wonderful to see you. Illy from Still Dallas. Agnieszka, is she tuning in from Monte Carlo?
I think so.
Agnieszka from Monte Carlo. Then who else? Stardust Diamond, wonderful to see you. Hey, Emma, tuning in from Italy. Elizabeth, wonderful to see you. Thanks. Elizabeth says, love the conversation with Max Egan. We posted this morning, interview with Max Egan. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Thomas, good to see you. Who else is here? Nicola is here. Oh, Nicola is here from Austria. Hallo Nicola, wie geht's dir? Schön, dass du da bist. Exciting. So, Inspired Tribe, before we dive into today's topic, which is the secret codes in our language, I also wanted to let you know that yesterday marked a beautiful day because something new began. As always, nothing is permanent in this life. Everything is ever changing. Yesterday was the last call we had with the Mastership Group. After almost a year, they're all ready to fly, leave the nest, and truly fly. They're doing amazing things. And are ready to flap their wings and go. And the Mastership call started as the membership call, really. And as a group, we met with every week and expanded. And now they're so ready to go out and do their thing. It turned into the Mastership Group. And for now, Kristin and I have decided to take a little break from those weekly calls, just because there's so many things going on also around us, and we just feel the shifts happening. You got to go with the shifts. But if you're interested in such a weekly call in the future, send us an email, and we'll kind of put you on that info list for when this continues in any way, shape, or form. Now, Tribe, now that more and more people are arriving, let me use this beautiful bell, which is a gift from Illy, who came to see us. She was part of the Mastership Group and is expanding in so many ways. Thank you, Illy. So we're tuning into today's topic, which is language, the secret codes in language. And we're gonna, for those of you who are new to the tribe, you know what we're doing here? We're peeling the onion, and we're coming to a core understanding of things. And one thing that is so important as you are on this awakening journey, when you wake up, what happens is your perception changes, and you cannot look at what is coming to you and what you're observing with the same mindset that you used to see things. As a matter of fact, the most challenging thing in this whole process is that you need to skin yourself. And when I mean skin yourself, is literally let go of old belief systems that are in the way of perceiving information in the true sense, where you see things for what they are, not for what you believe they are. And when we talk about language, we're going to dive into where it came from, how it started, what it developed into, and some really interesting twists and codes in our language. It's crazy in every language. But language really is a encoding system. What does that mean? Language encodes information and puts it into bits and pieces, ones and zeros, if you will. But it also creates a box for that information. Information is usually free-flowing. The vibration of information is free-flowing, but language encodes it. And so it allows us to basically, through language, express something, and most of the other people will have a similar view of that expression. That in itself sounds very helpful, but it's actually the tool that has really robbed us of our true perception of things, or one of the tools. But let me start with what language is in the basic form. It's sound. And sound is vibration that enters the room, and sound literally creates form. When you look at the molecular structure of anything, look at the molecular structure. If you look at water and how water is structured, sound will greatly influence water. And with sound, you can put information into water, but into many, many other things, not just water. So sound creates form. Sound is a really powerful thing. And because this was discovered early on, it was being used in so many ways, and also against this, or to suppress the spirit within us. And if we look at the origins of language when this all really began to form in our human experience, language wasn't really a big thing. We were very pure, we were very clear, we had great clarity, and we communicated more in silence than we did with sounds. And in silence, and because our minds were pure and were clear and were beautiful and creative, we didn't have anything to hide. So we could communicate with each other and didn't have the need to hide any of our thoughts or hide any of the images, because there was nothing to hide. There was nothing to be ashamed of. There was nothing to feel guilty about. And so we had a beautiful way of communicating with each other. It was very effortless. Distance didn't matter. Size of information didn't matter, because there was no limit to that. But, and we've talked about this, as we have lost our ways, and today we're not going to so much go into who helped on that journey for us to lose our ways. There is a power force, an entity that has always instigated those things, and that is valid. But it's more about understanding this. And so these entities, these powers, understood that such a mind, such a spirit cannot really be controlled very easily, cannot really be put down very easily. So slowly and surely, language was introduced. And most cultures say this, that there used to be a language in the old days, in the original times, that spanned all over the world. One language, which was still very pure, very clear, and a very beautiful understanding that we had. But over time, more and more and more languages began to be introduced. This is important. We believe they kind of organically were developed, and there's a dialect here and there's a variant there, when really language was designed and introduced. Of course, over the course of time, one valley would, one family, one valley, one clan would begin to put nuances into it. But language is a product of design. It isn't a product of evolutionary development. It's always designed. Even today, the language that's being introduced into society every day, new words, new creations, it's all on purpose. It all has a very clear purpose. And if you don't believe this, if it's hard for you to believe that there is somehow a design behind this, somehow a bigger plan behind this, look at the structure of our world and how we believe it's all so different. But look at the symbolisms that countries use. Every country uses the same symbolism to represent itself. To the outside, it's a flag. The flags vary in color, but it's all the same symbol. It's putting colors and lines and shapes on a piece of cloth, and then presenting that to the world as being an identifying piece. All nations of the world use governments. All nations of the world have belief systems. Usually those belief systems and the governments go either hand in hand or they fight with each other. All nations have trading systems and monetary systems, and they really don't differ from each other that much. But if we truly were a evolutionary species that kind of develops on its own and has, very unique ideas here and there, it wouldn't be that way. We would see a completely different way of living in another place of the world. And we could even say, oh my God, look at China. They're so different. Really? Are they? Compare America and China in the broad scheme of things. You'll see, both have a name to identify with. Both have a flag to identify with. Both have more or less, China's a little more diverse, but still a language, a main language, Mandarin in China and English in America. Both have belief systems and political systems. Both have militaries. So at the end of the day, it's really not different in nature. It's different in expression, but in the core nature of things, not very different. And so we have to look at this language thing in the same way. Language was introduced just like different disciplines of mathematics, physics, biology, chemistry, geology, anthropology, and all the ologies. Everything was divided up as if they were separate disciplines, right? When it's really just one thing. There is no separation between biology and chemistry and geology. It all belongs together. Same with language. Languages were designed and introduced to create division and differences between the peoples, when truly the peoples are one people, if you will. And so when we go back to this, to these origins, we can find actually that, and this is so beautifully, Max Egan touched on this in the interview, that we don't really have 17,000 roots. We don't really have such diverse roots. It all really comes from one core language. Now you can wonder, is it Sanskrit? Is it Magyar, as Max says? Is it a mixture? But if you go back, and I have I grew up learning 4 or 5 languages, so I kind of, and they come from different. One is Slavic, one is Italian, and then English and German. So I kind of have always those aha moments when I use words in different languages that sound very similar, say a very similar thing, but they cannot have the same root because they come from apparently completely two different strands of languages. So that cannot be true. But in an informational sense, we use words every day, believing that it is a communication tool. And this is where the importance comes in. Language is not really a communication tool. It's actually the worst communication tool. It creates the most misunderstandings. And usually the more people talk, the less they agree. And it appears to be a really, really, if we were to judge it by what it appears to be, a communication tool, it's really horrible, really. Because all disagreements stem from discussions, and not that discussions are bad, of course, in nature, but it all happens to be very besides the point. But what if we looked at language in a very different way? What if we looked at language in a more creative way? What if language has much more power than we believe it has? And what if the words that we use really have a very different meaning, and they really say something different? Now, for those of you who are in law, maybe you're an attorney, maybe you're a judge, or someone in your family is a judge, or it has anything to do with law, then you already know that what is being said in a courtroom sounds like the same language we speak, but it means something completely different there. So this is the first hint that language is not really something defined in the way you believe it is. What if language is actually a spell, if you will? And isn't it interesting that when kids come to school, the first thing they learn is to spell. They learn the alphabet, they give them the letters, and then they learn how to spell. Now, what is a spell? Isn't a spell something that you or someone with apparently greater powers can put over someone else to create or manifest your objectives? Isn't that what a spell is? And isn't it different that as soon as kids learn how to spell words, what's the next thing they learn how to do? Well, they create a sentence. Isn't it interesting? What happens in court? what happens when a sentence is presented? Isn't that a punishment? So you put the words that you spell in a sentence, and now you put it out there, and now you've created a whole energy. In other words, a punishment through words and through sentences. And you can go into the depths of this, what words mean and how they control us. It's interesting because in Europe, in the old days, way back when days, the Druids were a big culture, and the Druids were amongst the lawyers and the lawmakers, the politicians, the doctors, the most important people in society. And the Druids, it was a traditional thing, would carry a wand. And that wand, who has a wand? A magician has a wand, right? A magician says abracadabra. You look up those words, abracadabra. And who else has a wand? A conductor has a wand, right? And the conductor leads the orchestra. And you got to follow the conductor's lead. And it's like a hypnosis. It's like a spell. And what happens is those who hold the wand put a spell on those who are watching the wand. Now, the Druids, they carried a wand. It was a traditional thing. And you know what that wand was made of? It was made of Hollywood. The Hollywood, very popular wood. Now, today we have a very powerful entity in our world in Hollywood. In Hollywood, isn't Hollywood waging its wand and putting spells on humanity and leading by showing what's coming and showing what's out there through their entertainment? Now, what is entertainment? It's interesting. Look at the word entertainment. In Latin, enter comes from the word intro and means inside. The next tain leads back to holding, grasping, and control in Latin. And ment comes from the Latin word mens, which is the mind. So to be and have control on the inside of the mind, entertainment. The way you say it, it almost sounds like you're entering and then you're being tamed. It's very much about control and how these words are coming together and how these words are playing together. And it's interesting, when you learn the words and you learn how to spell, a word with a spell is a sword. Word is a sword, has a very powerful, piercing power. Words, if you were to go through what you use every day and you were to look at it from a different perspective, and this is what I meant in the beginning, you need to open your mind. You need to hear things from a different perspective, not the way you're used to. You need to get into this childlike mode where you learn again, where you are open to new information again. I want to run you through a few things that are very interesting. And words mean something very different than what they sound like often. And if you look at our world today, what we're all connected with and by is commerce. Everything comes down to commerce. All we do is with each other's trade constantly. We buy and sell and buy and sell. And so we have been, as the living flesh, have been literally made into entities that do commerce all the time. And our world is run by commerce. And the language and the law truly is also run by commerce. Everything has been pulled into this idea of buying and selling and trading, and that being the most important thing. Now listen to this. Listen, if you're looking at the law that governs commerce, the maritime law, then you wonder, who oversees everything? And to understand this better, maritime, points to the seas, the oceans, because in the old days, trade was only done on water by ships. Everything was being shipped around the world. And so trade was governed by maritime law. Today, we call it something different, but it's still maritime law. It's still commercial law. And today, everything is a ship. It's a friendship, right? How many words can you look up that end with ship? How come a relationship? Everything ends with ship. And who oversees everything? Over the seas. It's the Holy See. And what is the Holy See? That is the official title, the official name of the Vatican. The Pope, the Holy See. the Holy See, oversees everything. What do we have to trade with each other, to buy and sell with? Currency, the current sea. Everything points to that. Our language, and it's a decoding system, but it's not really hidden. We're just not hearing it for what it is. How do things come into existence? How do products get on dry land? Usually they come through a canal. And then when they reach their destination, there's a certificate. And that certificate then allows for the products to be traded. What happens with us humans? We come through the birth canal. And as soon as we're being birthed, we get a birth certificate. So we are being traded with as well. We're also part of this system. Everything is completely connected with each other. And language does not hide it, but it decodes it. It puts it in coding, in words and spells, and we use these words very, very unaware of what their true meaning is. And I want to give you a great, great example by a lady named Laurel Arica, and she put this in a beautiful explanation. And you can literally take this and go through the whole language, and it isn't just the English language by any means. But let me read this to you, and bear with me. Truly use your mind and be aware of what we're saying here. I'm going to give you a sentence, and then we're going to decode it, okay? We awake each morning and go off during the weekdays to earn a living at various jobs and undertakings until we come to the weekend. Now, it doesn't sound very far-fetched, right? People go out and they do their jobs, and then on the weekend they chill, right? But let's look at this sentence. We awake. A wake. What is a wake? A wake is a ritual before a funeral. People show up for the wake. And what do they do at that wake? They mourn. The mourning, that happens before when we grieve someone's death. There's mourning going on. You must also be in a weekdays to earn a living. Because what goes into an urn, it's the ashes of the dead people. We put those into an urn. And then what's an undertaking? Isn't an undertaker someone who, at a funeral home puts the casket or the urn into the ground? An undertaker, someone who takes you under. It's an undertaker. And the word job, where does that come from? Now in Hebrew, the word job means persecuted. In the Bible, the name job means he who weeps or cries. So most people do. They go to a job that they're not happy with, and they earn a living. It's all about being weak and being sad about the sad conditions that we live in. But then after the weekdays, comes the weekend, when we are weakened. We get the short end, the weak end of the stick, because it's only 2 days that we get to chill. The weekend, and that's where we get to recharge our batteries. So we go through the weekdays, they make us weaker. And then at the weekend, short end of the stick, we try to chill so we can do it all over again. It's a beautiful, beautiful example of what language does and how encoded everything is. And you can go and decode these things in various different ways. You can go and literally you could go and look at the dictionary, and there's the Oxford Original Dictionary, which goes back for every word a few pages, and will literally move you to the origin of that word. Someone who is brilliant at decoding language and putting it out in the open, and people was purposefully, misrepresented, was Shakespeare. Very, very much into showing what the language really means. Now, if we are not aware of that, and it's not just the swear words that we use, although those are weakening too, if we're not aware of the language that we use, we cast spells on ourselves and others simply because our subconscious mind, it knows that mourning means more than just the beginning of a day, because we have been familiarized with the meaning of the word mourning. And so we need to become very aware, which leads me to the positive, to the what can we do, because as always, as we become aware of things, we are looking for ways. We're looking for ways to live, create, express ourselves in a more positive and better way. And one of the things is that you first and foremost need to become aware. When do you speak? Why do you speak? How much do you speak? Are you conscious? Are you just carrying on a conversation because silence is awkward? And I want to go back to the wisdom of indigenous people and the tribes, because one thing that I see in everywhere I look at indigenous people and the tribes is their speaking patterns are very different. Even if they use our tongue and not their own tongue, which apparently is much more colorful and expresses way more. But even if they use our tongue, they speak slower. It's almost as if the silence between the words has more meaning than the words themselves. And so they choose words more deliberately. Every word is contemplated and thought about. As a matter of fact, one of the greatest teachers in every indigenous culture I have encountered is silence, reflection, contemplation. It's no coincidence and it's no accident that so many teachers, including Kristin and I, are always pointing towards meditation and silence. Because when you go into that state, you are calling on God in the non-language, in the language of spirit that has no words but has the deepest feelings. In those states of silence, there's no confusion. And so we will truly, the truth will be and is revealed to us in those states of silence. It's when the penny drops a lot of times in so many ways, and we feel a truth. And much later, if we can truly make it, and only then are we expressing that truth in words. A lot of times that truth cannot even be expressed in words because our languages simply don't have the colors. They don't have the ability to say what we are truly feeling on the inside. So the positive here is to speak less. And when you speak with purpose and meaning, choose your words wisely. We've all heard this before. Choose your words wisely. Why? You see why now. And you see how this picture, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. It's in everything. Everything has purpose and meaning. Nothing is random. Nothing was just there or just appeared. Or it's just, we have been led astray from meaning and purpose by the biggest lie of them all, that we are random biology, that we have just, evolved over time, and because of certain atmospheric events and pressure and temperature and moisture and information from the outside, we somehow formed as humans. And if we believe that our humanity, our humanness is random, then of course we're very inclined to believe that everything around us is random. But nothing could be further from the truth. There are no random events. Nothing we do or say or use in this life is random. Nothing that is presented to us is random. Everything is purpose and meaning. And so there's this journey is about questioning all these things. It's about going to the roots and looking for the authenticity in what something truly means. And it's been said that nothing can be pushed on any being without it first being revealed. Now, can you decode it? Yes, you can. Yeah, there's a maxim of law is, let him who will be deceived be deceived. I think I'm paraphrasing here, but what it means is, if you are gullible, if you don't do your own soul searching, if you don't dive into topics yourself, and if you don't follow your thoughts, and if you don't follow your curiosity, your inspired curiosity, then there are so many areas that you will be deceived in because you have not gone on that journey. And this is a completely self-responsible journey that we're on. Everyone is responsible for their own lives. There's no exception. Even the souls that incarnate into a very, very sick body or a very, very disabled body, even for them, and we take care of them, of course, as we do as humans, but we cannot allow ourselves to see them as someone who is not responsible for their journey. Even they have chosen that, which is sometimes hard to believe, but it is the utmost respect. And so the respect for yourself is the reason why we're talking about so many different things like language today, is because it has great meaning. The way we use language, we write it down and we send it through emails and we speak it through the ether and we talk to each other and we sign documents and we sign and create contracts and we write books. And really, if you think about it, any good book has a core message. And if the book was written well, after 300 or 400 pages, you get the core message. What a waste of time concept, truly, for us, that you have to go to 300 or 400 pages to get one core concept. But that's what a crutch language really is. It's just a crutch. It's not a real vehicle. It can never really give the true information. It can, when used creatively, point towards the essence of something, but you still have to feel it. And so if we were to go into silence more often, we could read the equivalent of 10, 15, 20 books in one meditation, maybe even 100 books. The wisdom, the equivalent of that which is in 100 greatly written books, could be perceived in one meditation, and oftentimes is. And so we will continue to use language, there's no doubt about it. I do believe that as we develop our abilities again, or rediscover our abilities, we will probably use less of it and move into a more mind-to-mind direct communication. Now, for that to happen, we have to purify ourselves. No one wants their dirty laundry aired. And so if we have dirty thoughts, and so if we have thoughts that are maybe disrespectful towards others, maybe they are violent, maybe, all those things that happen in the human mind sometimes, the journey is really about cleaning up. And so we can only return to those more conscious and aware states of communication and being together when we clean ourselves up and when we go on these journeys. So this is really a fascinating thing, language. I mean, for many, many years, and I've done the same in the German language. We've done the same and studied the German language. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, because it's not just about the perceived meaning of the words. It's what sounds are being used in language. If you look at languages that use a lot of ah sounds, because open your mouth and just breathe air through the vocal cords without doing anything with your tongue, anything, and listen to what comes out. The ah sound is the only sound that happens naturally when you do nothing. For all the other sounds, you need to use your muscles and manipulate with your tongue and your cheek muscles. For this sound, you don't need to do anything. Languages that use a lot of is the most natural, it's the holiest, the divine sound, the sound for God, the divine supreme being. And so languages that have a lot of sounds in them are very connected to divinity. Languages that have very little are very closed off from that. And so this is a whole different journey in language, to go into the purpose and meaning of sounds and how sounds manipulates matter, and how information is not just perceived through the eardrums and then decoded and encoded in your brain. But truly, if you were to put a glass of water here and if you were to speak to that glass of water every day, if you were to infuse it with beautiful, loving sounds, gentle, kindness, if you were to look at all of that. And one more thing, I'm just thinking about this. Don't use the word nice. Nice really means stupid. Comes from a French word. I always saw this when we took our kids back in the day. Our kids went to school for a while. We took them to school and they would say, be nice. And I just always thought, no, I don't want to be stupid. I'm going to be kind today. But if you do that, if you speak to a glass of water and let it be there just for one day, surrounded with loving sounds, play beautiful, harmonious classic music to it, speak love and kindness and healing and abundance and all those beautiful things into water, drink that, do that for a while and see what happens. It's a great way because water is the greatest carrier of information. It's the source of biological, it what keeps us alive, most of us. We know some people that don't drink, but for the most part, 99% of humanity or more drinks water. So Inspired Tribe, as you can see, a very, very broad topic language. And this is just to spark something, maybe to go a step deeper. Maybe you've always wondered about these things. And so you can dive deeper. There's some really, we just did an interview with Max Egan, and he had a lot of videos and even movies on that. And then there's people like her, what's her name again? Oh, Laurel Arika. I heard of her years ago, and then she came across. I came across her again a couple weeks ago. Laurel Arika, and look at what they're saying. Jordan Maxwell, people that are literally going deep into the language and the meaning, and then also go and listen to indigenous chiefs that are coming out, how they're speaking, what words they're using, how conscious they are. What an important thing, very, very meaningful, life-changing, completely life-changing for me when I discovered how deep this goes. And Kristin introduced me in a different manner, which I want to add here at the end, when she basically encouraged me to reflect what kinds of word, and that's on the surface more, but still, what kind of words I'm using to describe something beautiful. Today in our language, we're saying, well, man, that's sick, or, that's dope, or what else are we using?
Murder.
That's murder, right? We say, I mean, especially here in Nashville, I hear it all the time. People say, man, that new song's killer, it's murder. And just think of how obvious it is what these words really mean and how we use them, And so we're literally being led, or that's crazy. We want to say something was amazing. It was crazy. But what does crazy mean? It's not really a good state of mind, is it? So we are literally constantly being led to use language in a destructive way, in a way that keeps us small, keeps the spirit small, and maybe not even allows the spirit in. And so this is our one of the most important things we could do is become aware of all the things that do that and change them. And so become aware of what language you're using, how you're using it, when you're using it, and maybe even speak less for a while. Aside from these live streams, when we come on and speak, we don't really speak all that much. We have inspired conversations, Kristin and I, that are very deep and sometimes go for 5 minutes, sometimes for 15 minutes. But the majority of the day is spent in more or less silence. It's beautiful that way. Tribe, thank you so much for joining us. A few announcements, because there's always so much going on. Wanted to thank you all for the signups, the new signups for the Yado retreat. We are, we're not there yet, but we're slowly approaching our group limit that we had in mind for this retreat. The Yado retreat is the You Are the One retreat that's happening in September 30th to October 3rd in Cape San Blas, Florida. A really beautiful energy shifting journey that we're going to take. There's a link up there in the live chat pinned up on the top where you can learn more about it. We'd love to have you there. If you feel inspired, sign up. It's going to be a wonderful journey in a beautiful place. That's the one thing. And the other thing is practice clients, I believe I should always mention, right? For our Inspired Coaching Academy, Kristin and I, over the course of 1 year, maybe a little more than 1 year, we're teaching others how to become coaches and help people and give them the tools and the techniques and everything they need. And so they're doing really well. They're about halfway through, a little over halfway through. And they're always looking for practice clients. And practice clients are people that want to make a shift, improve, learn new things, and better their lives, just like for any other life coach. But in this particular scenario, it means that you allow for the coaches still to be in a state of practicing rather than being already fully developed in that field. So it is a very win-win situation, but that's Just to understand what this means, it is, as of right now, free of charge. Contributions are always welcome. And we very much encourage and expect a respectful and professionalism on both sides, which means, if you do schedule a meeting with one of our coaches, please show up on time, be respectful of their time and of them as human beings. That's very important to us too. So if you want to do that, if you want to become a practice client for one of our junior coaches, send us an email to 365inspiredliving@gmail.com, and we'll connect you with one of the coaches, and they'll reach out to you. Tribe, that was it from us for this week in the live streams. We're going to be back on Monday, 2 p.m. Central here on the Inspired channel. If there's anything you want to know, if you have questions, if there's a topic you'd like us to cover in a future live stream, we're always open to suggestions. Please send us an email or leave a comment. Just let us know. But we love connecting with you. Thank you for being here with us, and we'll see you again on Monday, 2 p.m. Central, right here on the Inspired channel.